Hi folks, the plan today is to style this Hinoki Cypress as a bonsai. This is the Thoweil cultivar, which is a dwarf variety, and it has really dense foliage. And I'm pretty excited about this plant. I've actually styled another one of these. It was much smaller than this one a year ago, and really liked the tree and was excited to find this larger version of the cultivar at a local garden center. So the plan is to style this similar to my Thoweil Primo, which is it came in a similar size to this one. This tree though, I think I'm gonna leave it a little bit taller. I envision a taller, more slender tree for this one, and I've studied it. I studied the trunk, and the plan is to make it an informal upright. Not unlike actually my dwarf larch that I have. So that's the plan. We'll see how it turns out as I get in there and start cutting off some branches. My first plan, of course, is to cut the lower branches off to reveal some of the trunk, and then we'll go from there and see how I want to style the upper part of the tree. Ta-da! Here it is, finished product. I didn't film the styling, and that's because I was teaching. My friend had a similar tree, and I didn't want to try and do bonsai myself, demonstrating to him what I'm doing and help him with what he's doing and film at the same time. So I did not film, but did want to show the final product and explain what I did. I took, as I said, the bottom branches off. I just took all this off so I could reveal this trunk. I left some of the larger branches as gin, and believe it or not, these were some of the larger branches, even though the gin are tiny. I took off all the really thin gin. There was a big branch here, almost a second tree, and I considered quite a while, making this a second kind of tree over here. I kept a gin initially, but it was just distracting from this nice curve, so I took it off completely. Then the next step, after revealing the trunk and putting off those bottom branches, was then up here was branch selection. And I explained to my friend, when there were two branches really close to one another, I would take one off and leave another. And I maybe even took off maybe even 2/3 of the branches and left just 1/3 and just spaced them out. I tried to avoid, for the most part, bar branches, although these branches are almost bar branches. But again, they don't really bother me. And you can always prune off branches later, whenever. When in doubt, I left a branch, and some of these eventually I might get rid of, but I kind of like the full look that it has now with the number of branches, and I think it works with the scale of the tree. I didn't want a really bare tree up top. And so after branch selection, then I did a little bit of thinning of the pads, but not too much. As you can see, they're still very pom-pommy, and that's intentional. I think well, I know eventually I want to make these even flatter, but the reason why I didn't continue to flatten these and make them even smaller is because I had already removed well over half, maybe 2/3 of the foliage of the tree, and I want to keep this tree healthy and vigorous and growing strong, so I wanted to leave plenty of foliage so it can adjust and recover. And as far as that's just kind of a tough process. It was hard for me to teach, really, that there's all these layers in this Hinoki foliage, and so you can kind of go in and you can prune off some of the layers to make these less fluffy. And I kind of took off the top layer, if that makes sense, of these to make them, they were even fatter. I made them a little bit thinner. Anyways, so that's basically the process I went through to make this tree. It was really fun. I'm very pleased with the result. I think it has a great start. But I have a question for the viewers. So as you can see, I tilted this potting angle of the tree, so it's leaning over quite a bit. That really appealed to me and looks good to me. And we'll call this potting angle A. So let me know, what do you think of this potting angle? Do you like A? Do you like the lean like this? Then B, I could keep it like this. We'll call this potting angle B. So I've de-tilted it now. This is just originally what the tree was at. And again, I guess I should say, I think this is the front. This is the front that I like. But it looks good for multiple sides, so I'll spin this one. So we'll call this potting angle B. Let me know what you think about this potting angle, if you prefer it. And we'll go ahead, let's go with potting angle C. Let's see what it's like if we tilt it over this way. How's this potting angle? Because I also think this could work. Really, this tree has such an interesting, great moving trunk line that you really can't go wrong. I feel like it will look good potted at many angles. So let me know what you think. And also, I'll throw in there too, in terms of pots, what do you think for a pot? I'm thinking unglazed, but I don't, beyond that, I'm not sure what style I'd choose for it. So, yeah, highly recommend Hinoki Cypress for beginners, especially if you can find this cultivar. I was just really pleased with the material. Again, because those branches on this cultivar are so dense, I had plenty of foliage to work with, and you know, took off 2/3, and look at how much I still have on this tree. Just really great dwarf cultivar for a smaller tree like this. Until next time, happy bonsaiing.